Welcome to Pop Up to Powerhouse, the podcast where side hustles turn pro. Here, we're pulling back the curtain on what it takes to build a standout, profitable brand in the event industry. From pricing with confidence to landing luxury clients, I'm sharing the wins, the setbacks, and everything in between, so you can turn your passion into a powerhouse business. There was a point when my team and I had decided that we were going to shut down part of our business. Ironically, that ended up being the part that saved us. I debated on even sharing this story with you because a lot of my emotions and feelings with it are still very raw and real. And I didn't want to share it with you unless I could be fully honest with the feelings and the emotions and some of the thoughts that I have. And to be honest with you, I was really kind of ashamed with the way that I was mentally handling it. And it wasn't until I was interviewed for this podcast, actually, that I was asked if I would share my story of my pivot. And so, coming off of episode 8, where I'm talking about being okay with being too much or just being yourself, I thought I might as well take my own advice and I am going to share my story with you of my pivot. All right, so this story starts back in March of 2020. So I started Confetë in 2016. And initially, when we started Confetti, it was Confetti Party Box. And we were going to put together Instagrammable parties that we were going to ship Instagrammable, like think paper plates, cups, napkins, like things for you to have an Instagrammable party at home. And this was really geared towards people who aren't good at designing or creating, but wanted to do something Instagrammable. So we started designing these boxes and started promoting that. And if you would listen to some of the earlier episodes, I talked a little bit about my journey and how the party boxes never really fully took off, but I had done a balloon garland for my niece and I had quit my job and thought I was going to make like all this money so fast. And so to be honest with you, I was like desperate for cash and I'd done a balloon garland for my niece, posted that on our story because it was combined with one of our party boxes and that's how we were launching it. And posted that and then somebody asked me if I would do that for them. So this is 2016 and this was really before any like organic balloon garlands had really started at all. And I'm pretty sure I'm one of the first people in my area to actually start doing that. And so it really, the balloons like took off. And that was not at all part of the business. And so fast forward, it's March of 2020, and the balloons are our main revenue source. And at the time, I'm still doing photo shoots for these party boxes. I'm still posting and promoting about them. And I'm spending a lot of time, money, and energy doing styled shoots, producing the gift boxes or the party boxes. And as we came into 2020, I had grown my business to a team of 4. And it was just insane. Like, I don't know that I really realized that balloons could bring so much revenue or that so many people would want to do them. And so as we came into 2020, I was like, man, am I wasting my energy here with a product that really isn't producing? And so we had decided like, okay, if revenue doesn't pick up by June, then we're gonna stop the party boxes and we are just gonna go full-fledged into the balloons. And then as we approached March of 2020, it was insane. And I remember feeling like we were finally making it. Like these last 4 years of just grinding, I was finally building a team. It wasn't just me. Um, I remember thinking like I had finally kind of made it. And so within that 4 years, I had started to shift my focus from doing a lot of home parties and installations, and I really wanted to do large scale corporate installs. And that is what we started to really move into and started to do. So we're getting a lot of these larger corporate requests. And we had actually done Seattle Cocktail Week and were hired by Chambord and Chandon to do this setup for them. for the pre like VIP for Seattle Cocktail Week. While we were at the event, Stella Rosa Wines was like, "Oh my god, we love what you did. Like, can you please come do something for our booth at the actual Seattle Cocktail Week?" So we were like, "Of course." So we literally scrambled, got the balloons, blew them up, went the next day back up to Seattle because I'm an hour south from Seattle, and we did an install for them, and it was so much fun. What was so exciting about that was after Seattle Cocktail Week, Stella Rosa Wines, we sat down with them and we're talking about traveling and doing more events with them and doing all of their trade shows across the US. I literally felt like I had finally made it because and it's still, she's hands down my favorite balloon artist of all time is Geronimo Balloons. And she had done these huge installs for Australia's Design Week. And she had actually flown down there and done all of these exterior balloon installations on all these different events for the design week, and I remember thinking like, "That is what I wanna do." Like, that it would her installs were amazing, and I just didn't even know that you could travel and do something like that for installs, and so I finally felt like I'd made it, like, "Okay, like, we're doing this." And so we approach the first weekend of March of 2020, and we have 5 events booked on Saturday alone, and my team it was definitely very hectic because we were going to have to divide and conquer, and logistics in the events industry, especially when you're doing 5 events in one day, logistics is so heavy, so you're figuring out, like, where you need to be and at what time, and, how long is it gonna take to get there, especially when you add in traffic, and so my team and I were actually separating for some of the smaller installations, and then we were coming back to be together for the, last install, which was the largest one that we had. And then we were starting to hear, commotion and conversations about COVID and that how serious it was and, but I was definitely in my own head. I was like, I didn't think it was gonna turn into anything. And as we approached the first weekend of March, little by little, events started to cancel. And Washington was one of like the epicenters of COVID and was one of the first places to shut down. And so that first weekend in March I remember the feeling of it being like, "Ugh, like, should events be held?" So 2 of them had canceled, and we were left with just 3 events for that weekend. And funny enough, leading up to that weekend, we had just done I think the weekend before, it might have been, we had just done a hiring, event where we brought people in, and we basically did these mock, trials of blowing up balloons and, interviewing people to see, like, how good they were at doing events because you have to be, like, fast-paced and, able to be on your feet and carry things, and there's definitely a lot involved, and so we wanted to really kind of train people and see, like, who picked up some of that stuff a little bit more naturally. And I remember during that weekend, it was a big deal. I was super excited because I remember thinking, like, we are gonna be so busy this summer and we need the help. Um, and I wanted people already trained because at this point in time, I was scrounging a lot of people like, hey, who can help? Because I just need people to blow up balloons and I can do the rest. But then even that, it was like, I realized like some people blew up the balloons too big or it didn't quite turn out the way I wanted to. And so I was really trying to move into training people ahead of time so that they're not just 100% green being at the installs. And so I remember a couple of people decided not to come because they didn't feel comfortable. But regardless, it all still felt incredibly exciting. So March of 2020, our 5 events went down to 3. And then my team was we were all able to be together and do the installs together. So, oddly, looking back now, it ended up being probably one of the best last weekends of doing installs because we were able to be together. We had time. I think we actually had lunch, which half the time you're never taking a lunch when you're doing events. And it was one of my employees' birthdays, and I had made her actually like a balloon headband that I actually think was super cute, and I feel like I should make those again. But we sang her happy birthday on the hood of my car. I think I have a photo of that somewhere, after one of the installs, and I remember thinking, like, this was actually a ton of fun. And and then it was like, that was it. All of a sudden, events came to a screeching halt. Every event that we had got canceled. And I know a lot of people felt, I mean, everyone felt COVID, obviously, but the events industry really felt it more than any other industry. I mean, it was done, right? You can't get together in person, no more events. And so we kind of, I remember thinking, I do remember looking back, and because it was so busy and we were just running, I mean, 5 events on a Saturday, and that was normal. Like, I was doing 3 events on a weekend, and a lot of times by myself. And I remember thinking like, "Oh, this is like a 2-week break," right? Like, I think everyone thought it was a short-term thing. And it was almost like we all were like, "Huh, we can, like, kinda catch our breaths. We can start maybe, figuring out some of our internal systems, maybe start cleaning things up a little bit." So I remember we were kinda doing that. And then as time went on and I can't even think of the word that was used for that now. And then as we continued to the 2 weeks went into 4 weeks, we started to ask ourselves like, "Okay, what can we do? What can we do to drum up business?" I have 3 employees, including myself, that I was responsible for their income, and that felt like a lot of pressure. And so we started to do these, what we called was no boredom balloon bags. And this was when we launched our DIY balloon garland kits. And the no boredom balloon bags were literally just balloon kits that we sent to people, and they blew them up, and kids got to play with the balloons, right? Because there was like nothing that you could do, and people became very bored at home. And we had a few, like, outdoor installs, but not many. I mean, I think people were really scared at this point, and so it just really kind of stopped. Okay, so then we were like, "How can we use this party box business to generate income? Like, what can we do with this side of it?" Like, we had an online business. And I do remember talking to other people in other businesses. And this was when everyone was like forced to go online. And I think we actually all forget because now it's like being online and all of this social media, but was like we were pushed and thrust. Everybody, it wasn't just like bigger businesses that were utilizing online stores. And and I remember thinking like, "Man, I do feel really lucky because I already had my store set up. I was already familiar with it, and a lot of people were just like trying to figure that out." And I understood to some degree shipping boxes, uh, a lot of things that you really don't think about. And there was a lot more learning to come as we went into this next chapter. But we started to look at our party box page and think, what can we do to generate income from this? And that's kind of where we started using the no board and balloon bag and started doing the DIY balloon garland kits. But on our page, we had always had a custom party box option, meaning that people could go onto our website, fill out a form, and tell us their theme, what they were wanting for the party boxes. And then we would curate that and ship it to them. And so we had gotten an inquiry on our website from a woman named Peggy. I still remember this so vividly. And she said that everything is shut down, and their coworker was pregnant, and they were wanting to have a baby shower for her. And so they wanted to know if we could put together a custom party box that we could ship to everybody so that they could hop on to a Zoom call and still have a baby shower for her. And I don't want to say a light bulb moment went off, but it definitely kind of did. So I mean, first we took care of the client. We're like, obviously, yes, absolutely. And we thought, okay, this could be a really great way, one, to use the product we already have. and to put together these party boxes and start shipping them out to everybody. So her theme was Hawaiian. And what we started doing was, right, like if a lot of the plates and cups and napkins we were selling, I always thought they needed to be things that you couldn't find in like Target and Walmart and just go out and get. And so we were carrying brands like Mary Mary and just things that you don't see everywhere. Harlow and Gray was a new company that had come out that had like pretty plates and cups and napkins and all that stuff. And so our theme was Hawaiian. We had these palm leaf plates that are usually sold in like increments of 8. So we actually opened them up. So everybody got one palm leaf plate. Everybody got a party cup with a Martinelli's, I think a balloon kit to just blow up balloons. Everyone got a lei because, right, you're like getting on the computer and it was like everyone wanted like something like you were partying, right? But virtually. And then every box also came with like, here's what we're celebrating, here's the Zoom link. And it was just a way to get everyone connected. And that did set an alarm. We were like, oh, we need to be doing virtual party boxes. So we decided to change our custom box to say virtual party box on our website. And this is when I realized or I witnessed firsthand the power of SEO and then the economy or what people were looking for, like match up and the magic behind what that looks like. Because all of a sudden, when we put virtual party box on our website, we were probably one of the only companies, I think, in the country that had that. We were starting to get inquiries on all these party boxes, whether it was people celebrating baby showers, bridal showers, first birthday parties. Then we also started to get the corporate clients that were coming in. So a lot of nonprofit organizations were still trying to figure out how to raise funds during this time. And and I think everyone was also getting, like, Zoom fatigue, so it was like, "How do we spicing this up and make this seem more celebratory?" And that's kind of where we came in. And then something happened that put us on the national stage.
Quick pause before we jump back in. If you haven't downloaded my free guide yet, you're seriously missing out. If you're ready to stop undercharging and book those premium clients that you dream about, I made something just for you. It's my free Charge Your Worth guide. Inside, I'll walk you through the exact mindset shifts you're going to need and real strategies to move from side hustle to powerhouse brand. Download it for free at thejamietaylor.com/free guide and take the first step in building the brand and creative business that you deserve.
We're now in June of 2020, and colleges, high schools were trying to figure out how to do a celebration or a ceremony for their graduates. I was approached by a photographer, oddly enough, the same photographer who told me to charge more or that I needed to charge more. That is in one of the first 3 episodes of this podcast. She had come to me and said um, that there was one of the local colleges here and they needed in the Seattle Tacoma area, and that they were needing essentially party boxes or graduation boxes for their graduates. And so she was like, "Can you put something together like that?" And I was like, "Yes, of course." Like essentially what we did. And so we put that together and I think we sent out about, I don't know, it might have been like 100 or 200 graduation boxes. Well, that story got picked up by the New York Times. And then that's when I realized that matching like what you do with the current topics that were going on within today is how you kind of get press and media. And so that it was amazing because we got featured in the New York Times and then orders just started rolling in. Like it was, I remember feeling incredibly lucky because a lot of people were not having the same or weren't going through the same things, right? Like a lot of people were figuring out how to stay afloat. Um, and I don't want to act like orders were rolling in and we were like really rolling in the dough because it wasn't like that. I did take out an EIDL loan, a $30,000 EIDL loan. Um, because I wanted to make sure that I could pay people, but we were definitely at least generating income, and it was keeping us somewhat busy. So, but it was almost like, right, like nothing was coming in to finally getting some things that were coming in and things that were kind of matching up. But it all kind of depended on what was going on at the time. So with graduation, that was a busier time. And so there was definitely some ebbs and flows within that, but it was amazing. I remember feeling incredibly blessed and grateful, that and blessed, grateful, maybe even, like, just lucky. I remember feeling really lucky, that this was happening to me. This might be funny now, but maybe wasn't maybe, like, the funniest joke at the time, but, like, this we were about to close this business down. It literally was doing nothing. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I just needed a pandemic for my party box business to take off. And so as time went on and as things started to loosen and people started to kind of get back together, a lot of our party boxes started to shift. Like, some were still party boxes and people were hopping on Zooms. And then it started to turn a little bit more gifting focused. And so we started to add in completely different product to make it more gift-like. But we always kind of paid homage to the fact that our roots and our heritage, was parties. And so we always had, like, confetti or a party horn or something like that, regardless of what it was. And at the end of the day, even sending out a gift, I think a lot of people are celebrating something, on some level. And so we started to shift away from party boxes and a little bit more towards gifting. Honestly, it all felt really unreal. We were getting requests from large companies like AARP and Microsoft and Deloitte and um, it was I remember thinking, again, like, I had made it and that this was amazing. And never in a million years did I think that anything would stop. Okay, so now we're coming into 2022, and it's funny to me because you might have heard the episode, um, 7, I believe, with Lene Pompeo about like, oh my gosh, 2021 was like one of the best years and absolutely loved it. And a lot of people started their businesses in 2020. And then obviously, like things loosened up in 2021. So naturally for them, business was great. But for me, it wasn't. Like 2021, I remember thinking was a year, 2020 to 2021 was a year of survival and just like rolling with the punches. And while yes, everything you just heard sounds amazing, it wasn't. It was definitely very scrappy. Like we were just like figuring out how to stay alive is really what it felt like. And we were doing a pretty good job at just taking things as they come. And so at this point, we're pretty steady with our gift boxes, and shipping those out. And balloons were slowly starting to come back. So it's beginning of April. And I'm like, I need to make myself and my business more legitimate or more real. And I need to get a warehouse. Like it's time to get it out of my house and have it in this place. And I mentally for myself remember thinking, like, your business isn't real or legitimate until you have a space. And so that's naturally what I ended up doing. I signed a 5-year lease and um, I signed a 5-year lease. I remember it being one of the most exciting moments because again, felt like I had made it, like we're making these progresses and moving forward. And move-in was so much fun. It was like decorating the place and having like a designated place for photo shoots and hanging up all this fringe that we had made. And we had a whole area for bought all of these racks to line up all of our products and be organized and have a space to move. I even had like a little loft above. And then it was like the faucet had turned off like overnight. And it was a faucet that I never turned on, and I didn't even know where it was. Like, I didn't even know how to find it. And balloons were, like I said, they were coming, but Seattle was really slow to come back. And we were much more in the corporate area. And so corporate events were still very slow to come back. But boxes had almost completely stopped. And we had to really transition from this like virtual party boxes and seeing like people were searching for that. And now they weren't. Now we were entering a new industry, which was gift boxes. And that was a completely different industry, one with other businesses that were already in there. And so competition was different, but also marketing the business was different. And I remember thinking, this is like, I have to like learn how to really like actually market, like true marketing, because the balloons were really a lot of word of mouth and posting it on social media and people referring me. Where the boxes, in order to do a decent amount of revenue in boxes, you needed large orders. And so you had to really figure out how to market online, and that was just a totally different realm, and like I said, getting that national press, I never I felt like I had never actually gotten it, and I didn't really know how to get that back. And so it almost felt like things were stopping again. It's almost like we're going back to 2020, and I felt like everything kinda came to a halt, and I just signed this 5-year lease. What I didn't know at the time, but looking back now, COVID wasn't gonna be the hardest chapter of my business. The hardest chapter is what came next. Because after the New York Times feature and after all the corporate clients and after signing my first warehouse lease, everything started to fall apart. And that's truly where this story begins. If you love this episode or it resonated with you, or you know somebody that maybe needed to hear this and maybe they're going through something similar now, I would love it if you would first comment below and subscribe. That helps get this podcast more seen. And then also share it with anybody that you feel could benefit from this episode. So thanks for tuning in, and I can't wait to catch up at next week's episode.
Now, a quick ask. I want to keep bringing you these free educational podcasts so that you can build the event business that you want. You can make that possible by simply sharing this episode with your friend, following us on your favorite platform, and leaving us a review. It takes just a moment, and it makes sure that I can keep bringing you the best quality content so that you can go from pop-up to powerhouse.